Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Negler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It is a Monday, and it is not a victory Monday, to say the least. Tough day rewatching yesterday's contest between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. You know, that thing they say, it's never as bad as it feels, and it's never as good as it feels. Well, you know what? It was pretty bad, and it felt pretty bad rewatching it. There's no doubt the team really fought back in the second half. You loved some of the grit and heart that was on display. But man, there were multiple problems in the first half on both sides of the ball. Lots of mistakes that we've seen from, multiple people in multiple different ways being compounded and repeated. And it's interesting that I put the title of this video up, I want to say about 2 o'clock Eastern, and then waited to hear from Matt LaFleur at 4 Eastern. And then when he took the podium there, he actually checked this and he literally said there are too many people making repeated mistakes. And I think that's a big key and a concern of mine after a month of Packers football where you've settled in, right? It's not preseason anymore. Any excuse you might have about, oh, well, they're just trying to find their groove or what have you. You've certainly seen this team committing penalties and having spacing issues on offense and not getting home when rushing the quarterback and all sorts of things you can point to where these are things that are settling into a pattern, and things that you don't want settling into a pattern are becoming a regular occurrence week after week after week. And it is definitely time to start cleaning some of this stuff up before it becomes your identity. And I don't know if that's strictly having to pull guys. I know that's what Aaron Rodgers suggested back in the day, but there is, a clear delineation between when this team is playing to its potential and playing together and in sync. It is an incredibly talented group, and the sky is the limit. But there are way too many instances where, and it's not just, oh, it's this guy. There are repeated things from lots of different individuals that you see setting them back and making things way harder than they need to be. Case in point, Elton Jenkins with a false start penalty in the first drive of the game at home. You're playing at home. Now, I know Jordan Love has been out of the lineup for the last 2 weeks, and maybe you're not used to his cadence, what have you, but you've played with him all summer, certainly been in there at practice all week. But that's an instance where that's a repeated mistake, not just from Elton, but from everybody up front that kills them in the red zone. LaFleur spent all last week talking about how one of the reasons they have fallen off in red zone efficiency is because of the penalties, the self-inflicted wounds that have pushed them back and made it exponentially more difficult. And now look, they even had the opportunity to overcome that with a throw from Jordan Love that was a bit behind Dontavian Wicks, but that's a pass that any NFL receiver should be able to catch. And if Wicks is able to catch it, there's a decent chance he pulls away and gets into the end zone. Instead, they settle for a field goal attempt. Of course, you can't even say a field goal because they've got a kicker who can't make field goals. And shout out Zach Cruz pointing this out because holy Toledo, this is depressing. That 37-yarder that Narveson missed is literally the only miss under 40 yards in the entire NFL through 4 games this season. I mean, I don't understand what we're doing here. I remember Brian Gutekunst talking about how he needs to have patience with his specialists. Well, patience over the course of a career, patience over the course of a season. What are we doing? Because it's been a month now, and this kid has missed a kick in every single game. At what point does in-season patience wear out? I know it never seemed to last year. Is that the plan this year? Just going to trot him out there and allow him to make the same mistake every week? Because that seems to be a pattern and a theme for this 2024 Green Bay Packers team. It's not too late to correct it. It's not too late to improve and develop and get better. But from the top down, this is a team that is settling into some bad habits, and it has got to break them. That's just me. That's just something I'm into. Call me old-fashioned, but that's where the Packers are living at the moment. And look, I don't want to make the Narveson thing ending on that. I'm not blaming Narveson for this loss, although it would have helped if he made his kicks. But that said, there's a lot of blame to go around. It is not on him. It is on the team, on both sides of the ball. Hell, even all three with the defense. But it is disconcerting, to say the least, to see repeated mistakes from multiple angles. And now that we're a month in, it's time to start correcting those. And the other kind of disconcerting part for me is going back and rewatching the game and seeing many of the types of issues on offense, especially that they saw throughout the start of last year. Remember when they got hot towards the end of last season and this team really gelled, especially on offense? And then we spent the whole offseason talking about that stretch of play where they really seemed to be figuring it out and growing and developing together. Well, all of that progress you thought you were going to build on seems to have been reset when we've got spacing issues that cause interceptions. Isn't that what all of last year was about? Aren't we supposed to be growing past that? That's to me what is, probably shouldn't say concerning, but it's somewhat alarming. And look, I get it. They've gone 4 games, 2 different quarterbacks. You're pretty well adjusted to one or the other style, and then you have to flip the switch and play with a different quarterback and a different cadence and a different rhythm and a different style of offense. I understand those aren't things that just happen, but you are professionals and you are basically held to a standard where you are expected to improve and develop and get better, because if you're not, then it's time for someone else to do the job. It's I know it's a bit rambling, but it is just something that I've really kind of felt rewatching yesterday's game, where the people who are supposed to be improving and getting better and taking this team to the next level are making all the same mistakes that we saw them make, not just throughout this season, but last season as well, or at least early last season, until they started figuring it out. Well, I thought the figuring it out part was over. Supposed to be building on that. That's just me. I'm an old man. I'm a grump. I get it. You know what I'm not grumpy about? Having fun. You know, you can have fun. Check out Prize Picks. That's right. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com and use code CHTV. Spend $5 on lineups and get $50 instantly. You can join in the fun at the link in the description of this video, and just for your enjoyment, you can take a look at everything they have to offer, and you can play against me. That's right. Starting on Wednesday at Packer Transplants, I'm going to start throwing out some of my picks. Uh, every Friday, I'm going to do a full selection that you guys can follow along with and make fun of me for and show me how you're so much better than I am. Go to prizepicks.com, or better yet, just use the link in the description of this video. Sign up, download the app, have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing it all season long. Hop on board, people. What's going on? Comment section. How we doing? We got VT starting us off. Medically cleared was what they said when they sent my grandma home from rehab in a wheelchair. Took her a while to start doing the mambo again. I see what you're saying there, man. I like it. Yeah, I think clearly a, mention or a allusion to Jordan Love being medically cleared and not exactly doing the mambo as soon as he hit the field. I do think we saw him improve throughout that game, and I do think he'll look a lot better next week out in LA. But that first 20, 30 plays or so, it was a little rough to watch. Steven, thanks for the super chat. Not panicking with Love, but he really needs to refine his mechanics to be more consistent. Injury or not, he has a tendency to be sloppy. I mean, I'd quibble, but you're not wrong. It's unfortunate that we got to watch him kind of refine his groove, so to speak. Like I said, seemed to really settle in towards the second half of last year, but we've seen a lot of the same mistakes we saw at the beginning of last season. And yesterday, there was certainly accuracy issues. Like I said, I do think he improved upon that as the game went on, but it would also help if his wide receivers would make a fucking play for him. I mean, I get it. He's off. The throws are off. He's a little off. I get that, man. He has been out, and he is trying to get back into game shape, game rhythm, game groove, what have you. You know what would help do that? Catch the fucking ball. Whether it is a little bit behind you, whether it is you got to dive and outstretch, make sure your fingers are underneath that ball. Make sure your arm gets cradled underneath it as you're hitting the ground. Make sure you make a play for your quarterback. And again, this was an issue at the beginning of last year. This is what concerns me. This is what kind of, dare I say, pisses me off. We saw you guys struggle with this, you guys being the quarterback and the receivers, last year at this time. It's a year later. You've had a whole offseason. You have a whole training camp. I'd say you had a whole preseason, but none of you play in the preseason anymore. You've had 4 games. Make a play for your quarterback. I'm begging you. Riley Angel, what's going on, man? Motion to unretire 4 and give it to Love. Took the Favre tribute a little far, but sure was fun to watch. Yeah, that was very Favre-esque, what we saw from Jordan on Sunday. And hey, I've said it many times. I know you guys remember the first part of last year. I particularly harped on it. He very much has way more 4 to his game than 12. And that's not to say he didn't learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I believe he did, and it sure seems like he did. But yeah, he's got some gunslinger mentality. There were a couple of those, 4th and 10 where he's chucking it deep, or even 3rd down where he gets flushed from the pocket and he makes one of the most ill-advised throws you'll ever see. It ends up being complete, thankfully. Could have been intercepted, but yeah, he's got a little bit of that gunslinger in him. No question about it. Bucky Boyd, thanks for being a Carry the G Club member. RELAX, Jordan just finding his bearings. Definite need to clean up penalties. Inexcusable. Keep carrying the G, everyone. A tried and true message for all of green and gold land out there. Josh, thanks for the super chat. Matt alluded to Jacobs seeing less time due to protection issues. Did you see that on tape? Random Packer, A-Rod's guy, Ruvel Martin. Ruvel Martin, shout out. Yes, I think so. Actually, Andy and I just talked about that on Let's Talk Football. I would direct you to that conversation because I thought Andy had some really good points to make about Jacobs and kind of the usage there and some of the issues in pass pro. I didn't think they were overly egregious, but they were somewhat noticeable. I'll say that. Soder, thanks for the super chat. Should never win an NFL game after going down 28-0, let alone one where you had 4 turnovers. Yet it was there for the taking. It was, and it does speak to the Packers' resiliency and their ability. But yeah, you're right. No business winning that game. And they didn't. So there you go. Zol, thanks for the super chat. Not to be negative, but it's going to be a barn burner when it starts with those words. Not to be negative, but would the Packers ever remove the gold package? It looked like a sea of purple on TV. Appreciate She Said TV's work. They might someday, but it's not going to be because of that issue. I mean, let's be real here. There were plenty of Honolulu blue shirts and jerseys last year on Thursday night, because that was a gold package, so everybody pointed at that. But there were plenty of Chiefs red jerseys and shirts on Sunday night last year. That was a green package. It's just the way the NFL secondary market in particular works now. And we're going to watch Packers fans take over the LA stadium next week. We watch Packers fans infiltrate every stadium when they travel on the road. It's not a surprise when an undefeated division rival buys a lot of tickets and infiltrates Lambeau Field. It ain't 1984 anymore. It is the cost of doing business. I would love nothing more than to keep all those opposing fans out, but that is just not the marketplace in 2024. And it has nothing to do with the gold package. As much as I like to carry that that pretend feud with Billy on, it is just not the case. Abdul, thanks for the super chat, man. Did Kenny play any better against Bradbury? I thought in spurts, but not nearly enough. Certainly wasn't affecting much up front. On a day where they desperately needed interior push from anybody, not just Kenny, it was sorely lacking. I thought he had a couple of good reps, and he certainly looked like his old self a few times, but never on a consistent level, and certainly not enough to make Sam Darnold's life any tougher than it was at any point. Dragskull Watt. I don't know how to pronounce that, but thanks for the super chat. What bothered me the most was that Jordan Love did not get the memo, which Malik did, that we don't need hero ball. Costly mistakes come from heroing. Yeah, the one that I will put on him that certainly fits that description is the toss up to Wicks up the right sideline when they had zero pressure and he had Harrison Smith kind of, in his face, screaming around the edge. I will say the more he plays, the less we'll see of that type of thing. But yeah, it's unfortunate. There's no doubt about it. And it does cost you football games. The ball is life, as Matt likes to say. Now, that said, I know people look at the interceptions and think, oh, God, he's making these bad decisions. I don't kill him for the other two. I really don't. That one, though, that's hero ball, and that's unfortunate. Now, it's real easy for me and you to sit here and say that, right? It's a whole nother world when they have been bailing out of their zero pressure look every single snap all game long. And then all of a sudden, the one time they send it, you've had a go route on the outside. Now, in your brain, dispassionately, the day after, or even maybe while you're watching it on your sofa live, we can sit there and say, well, we'll just take the sack. We've certainly seen Aaron Rodgers do that throughout his career. One of the greatest of all time, 4-time MVP. But in the fight or flight mode of live game action, I understand a guy who has 1 year of starts under his belt, feeling the pressure and maybe thinking, I got to go make a play, or this is my chance to make a play, or this is all the only chance I have to make a play, and he chucks it up. Hopefully, again, he learns from that, he develops from it. But yeah, man, the ball is life. You got to take care of it. No question about it. Mike Witt, thanks for the super chat. Meanwhile, Greg Joseph goes 5 of 5 on field goals in the same week. Not a good Brian. Not a good Brian. Hoping we number 23 back in LA ordered 11 jersey today. Love that kid. Yeah, Jaden Reed is the truth, man. Jaden Reed is absolute legit. There's no question about that. And yeah, the Greg Joseph going 5 of 5 thing for the Giants on Thursday. That's a tough pill to swallow, man. But we all did watch Greg Joseph miss a ton of kicks all summer long. So I recency bias, whatever, but it's hard for me to kill Brian for letting a guy go who was making 80% of his kicks. Yeah, he made 100% the other night. Great, awesome, well done, sir. But that Brian didn't have that information when he made that choice. That one's tough. Abdul, what's up? Anything encouraging you saw on rewatch? Yes. Some of the pressure packages from Halfley, when he finally got to some of them in the second half, were really fun. And I do think you look at the offensive production in the second half and the way they were able to get some things working. Certainly, you saw, I thought, some really good stuff from the tackles, both in Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker, who's been bit of a whipping boy here on the internet for the last couple of weeks. I thought he had a really good game. But it's funny. Speaking of Tom, I thought he had a stellar afternoon, except for one play in particular where he essentially allowed pressure right off the edge, and that was a tough rep. But for the most part, he was his stalwart self. So yeah, there were some encouraging things. Almost always are, no doubt. And as someone just mentioned, Jaden Reed. Man, if you're ever in the doldrums and you just need a pick me up, just watch Jaden Reed cut ups. You'll feel a lot better about everything. Frank, thanks for the super chat. No question. Just wanted to say thank you for being so detailed and elaborate whenever you answer my questions. Cheers and go Pack go. Random Packer Earl Dotson. Earl Dotson, man. What a legend. Frank, that's incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much, man. Charlie, thanks for the super chat. I blame Kevin King. I mean, we've blamed everybody else. I mean, it's just his turn, right? I appreciate it. Dan, thanks for the super chat. Do you think Narv Puppy is going to be Pound Puppy soon? That's a really good way to put it. Man, I don't know. I just said on the radio, I think, I expected us to wake up to some kind of report about Narvison being released. I'll never forget the story about Ted Thompson watching Ahmad Carroll get burned by Greg Lewis and literally in a bone quiet press box saying aloud, Greg fucking Lewis. And then the next day, Ahmad Carroll got cut. Doesn't feel like Brian's going to go that route. Because if I was the general manager up there in the press area, the box, wherever they watch at home at Lambeau. And I watched the kicker who I've tried to have patience with and who has missed a kick in every single game so far this year, missed 2, including a 37-yarder. I would have said Braden fucking Narvison, and I would have cut him probably right after the game. But that's just me. I'm an emotional fan. I have no bearing on the outcome, and you should thank your lucky stars if that is the case. But yeah, I think there's a chance that he's gone. Johnny, thanks for being a Care of the G Club member, man. I can't believe Josh Myers has been one of the bright spots on our offense. It's true. And it's funny because I didn't want to bring him up with Andy this week because, we talked about him last week, and I feel like if we just don't talk about it too much, then he'll keep playing at this really solid, high level. But he has been for 3 weeks now. Like, I thought he had a bit of an up and down game in Brazil, but man, for the last 3 weeks, he's played well. Shout out Josh Myers, man. Contract year. Go get paid, young man. Go get paid. Cameron, thanks for the super chat. I love Rashawn and Preston, but there are times where I wish we had a pass rusher who can win quick. Again, love those guys, but if Rashawn can't win with power and Preston can't get that swim move, it's not great. You're not incorrect, sir. And it is disconcerting to watch how many times they rushed 4 in that game yesterday and did not sniff the quarterback. It's disconcerting. And they kept sending waves, too. They kept trying to use the combo of Preston and Rashawn and then flip it over to Enigbari and LVN. Nobody was doing nothing against those tackles. It was tough. And that's why it was somewhat frustrating because in the second half, then it seemed like Halfley was like, okay, I got to make this happen. So he did dial up some more pressure, different types of pressure. But then, ultimately it is a game of adjustments. And when it was, 28-22, they hit that big one to Jefferson because Halfley tried to send big pressure. They did a great job of adjusting. They got Jefferson one-on-one with Nixon, and that was toast, right? And that was kind of the bind Halfley was in because those guys weren't able to win quick. He needed to send numbers, even though he knew that put his undermanned secondary in a bad spot. So I did have some empathy for Halfley in that regard because we spent all summer talking about how this front four was really affecting the offensive front. And that wasn't just at camp with the Packers. It was in joint practices as well. So it really felt like they had kind of found their kind of way of working with that front four and this new scheme, what they were being asked to do, fly upfield, create havoc, etc. That certainly has not materialized through these first 4 weeks, and it certainly wasn't on display yesterday against the Vikings. Abdul, thanks for the super chat. Would they bring back Carlson? At least he made under 40. Never say never. I tend to doubt it, but I'm not going to say there's no possibility because there's always a possibility. Ed, thanks for the super chat. Is a slow start due to a decision to wait and see what the other team is doing and then react, or is it just not eating your Wheaties that morning? I'd probably side on the Wheaties thing, but I will say, the Packers, that first offensive drive, they marched right down the field. It was no issues. I thought they played that extremely well, but then a false start and then a drop, and you're kicking a field goal that doesn't count, and then your defense is back out on the field. You give up another touchdown. Now it's 14-0, and you've run like 9 plays. So they were, behind the sticks, behind the 8 ball, so to speak. And this is what we talked about all last week. I know you guys remember. The Vikings have played from a lead the entire season. It was never more paramount than this week to get a lead. The Packers could have. McDuffie just holds on to an interception, but it's just tough, man. It's just tough. Dan, thanks for the super chat. Hey, Nags, when can we start comparing Xavier McKinney to the Woodson signing? 4 games is too early, but damn, what a player he's been for us so far. Yeah, it's way too early. But I will say, you got to love what you've seen from him through these 4 games and the way he hasn't just produced. The interceptions are great, but his down in and down out presence is just, I'm not even going to say that, like, steady presence, but his leadership, the way the locker room seems to have really gravitated to him. And certainly on defense, you see guys taking kind of their lead from him. He certainly seems to be a great communicator. The way they seemingly have given him carte blanche to call things on the back end at times. He has made an instant impact, and certainly so far worth every penny. Now the Woodson comparison, yeah, we're a little early. You're right, it's a little early, but he's on that track. Most hated, what's up, man? If McDuck made that pick, undo Viking game plan, well, it couldn't hurt, right? I think it would have, could have, should have been great to see the Packers get the ball there and then hopefully march down and score that touchdown. Makes things a little bit more interesting, that's for sure. Now, does it alter their game plan just because a touchdown gets scored? I don't think so, but you certainly get an opportunity to get on, to get in an area where you can control the kind of context of the game a little bit. And that is something no one's been able to do against Minnesota so far. Jesse, what's up? Should we scoop up McManus? He got cleared. I saw it, Jesse. Should they? That is for wiser heads than mine. I suspect, given, for those of you who don't know, he is being sued by 2 stewardesses or flight attendants. Sorry, I guess that's the nomenclature now. During his time with the Jacksonville Jaguars, claiming sexual harassment, and they are seemingly looking for their day in court. And I know their lawyer said that the NFL has not contacted them at all, even though the NFL supposedly just had an investigation that, as Jesse is saying here, cleared him. How are you clearing him if you haven't even talked to the people involved? I got the feeling Brian and the Packers will stay well clear of this. That's just my guesswork. But hey, can he make his kicks? Yes. Sign him up. That's why I think most fans live, right? We'll see what happens. Simatovic, what's going on, man? Thanks for the super chat. I feel prime Justin Tucker would be mid as a kicker in Green Bay. I don't know about that one. I know he missed one, the other night, but it's not like Baltimore's a piece of cake. They play outdoors. It's not like it's Miami. I think Tucker would be fine in Green Bay. Matthew, what's up, man? No rings are won in September. RELAX, folks. On a positive note for you, Nags, that Palmer kid looks all right at Chelsea. He does, doesn't he? How about that? 4.5. 4 goals in 1 half. Give me all the Cole Palmer, man. John, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. 50% or more of Love's NFL starts have looked like that or worse. I don't see how we have any sire answer at QB. Sure answer, I believe you mean. At QB yet. Might be Jordan, might not be. Sir, did you miss the part where they handed him that contract? He's their quarterback, whether you like it or not. No matter what you think about what his starts have looked like, which what does that even mean? He's their quarterback. He's your quarterback if you're a Packers fan. Like, you don't have to like it, but that's a fact. He's not going anywhere. Root for his development. Root for his improvement. Root for him to not look like that, again, whatever that means, ever again. He's your guy. Get behind him. That's all. That's as plain as I can make it. There's no more guessing. It's not an open competition. This ain't American Idol. Or I'm sorry, it's not Quarterback Idol. Jordan Love's the quarterback for the foreseeable future. Get on board. I don't know what to tell you, dude. I really kind of mystified that people are even questioning, oh, maybe Jordan's not it. Jordan's it. Much like Favre was it. Jordan's it. The interceptions are frustrating. The great plays are fun. It's going to be a roller coaster. Hopefully the roller coaster evens out as the years go along. But, man, right now, there ain't no doubt he's your QB. Have a good time, or at least try to. Peter, thanks for the super chat, man. When is replay assist used versus when do coaches need to challenge? When is replay assist used versus when do coaches need to challenge? Peter, you typed that twice. I suspect just test me, and I read it both times. It's a great mystery, actually. I don't think there are any set rules. I've heard that, oh, look, replay assist has spoken up and helped the placement here, and they've taken this penalty off the board, etc. But I haven't seen any rhyme or reason. And if someone has seen or read something different, please let me know. But as far as I know, it's just New York chiming in when they see something amiss or off, which is unfortunate because if you are a coach and you're sitting there wanting to challenge something or thinking maybe I should challenge it, are you hedging and thinking maybe replay assist will help? And I'm sure there's all sorts of nomenclature and like fine print about what they will or won't overturn or look at or don't look at. But man, I've been walking this earth 51 years, and I am just not motivated to go bury myself in some minutia about some dudes in New York City or men and women probably sitting in New York City going, "Oh, well, that ball should be on the 34." Like I just don't have the time in my life. Although I'm sure those people exist. Mike Witt, what's going on, man? I've got so many Viking friends talking stuff to me today. Any advice to what to say to them to shut them up? LOL. Today sucks. Mike, there's nothing you can do to shut them up because this is their Super Bowl. Going to Lambeau Field and winning at Lambeau is the biggest thing that will ever happen for any Vikings fan ever. Because they all know in their hearts, deep down in the recesses of what they call a soul, they know their team, if they are lucky enough to not get up in the regular season, will certainly fuck it up in the playoffs. So just have solace in the fact that this is all they've got. You've watched your team win Super Bowls. You've watched your team win boatloads of games and absolutely had a ball watching the Packers throughout decades of prosperity and joy and times certainly heartache, no doubt about it, but not against the Vikings. Man, this is the Vikings Super Bowl. It's all they have. Let them revel in it and all will be well. I promise. Andrew, what's up, man? I'm over this Bisaccia experiment. Well, be that as it may, he's not going anywhere. So buckle up. Best I can offer. Frank, thanks for the super chat. Does the Watson ball affect Ten's decision making? Does the Watson ball affect Ten's decision making? You mean the pass he threw where Watson ended up getting hurt? No, I don't think so. I think, it's a play where, I mean, it's a million to one that happens again in that exact kind of sequence where a linebacker who you think is going to vacate the zone suddenly doubles down or doubles back and makes that pick. Totally against the rules of what you would suspect to happen in a cover 2 situation or Tampa 2 situation. Sorry. But yeah, no, I don't think Jordan's sitting there altering his thought process or decision making because, I don't want to do that again. I mean, it's somewhat, and unfortunately, cost of doing business. Now certainly, I don't ever expect a quarterback, Jordan or otherwise, to be like, "Oh, I want to lead my guy into trouble or contact," or I really want to try and throw this in there and get my guy lit up. Obviously, no quarterback's playing that way, but I think at some point you do have to let it rip, as Matt has said, and occasionally guys are going to get hurt. Unfortunately, it happened on that play. Mike Quit, thanks again. Your opinion on Matt's penalty yesterday? Refs suck. I really appreciated LaFleur at the podium after the game talking about how he was embarrassed that he got the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and he kind of reiterated today that he has to be more level-headed. But I will tell you what, I absolutely loved it. It was the most fire we'd seen out of the team all afternoon up until that point. And after that happened, we saw Jaden Reed getting pumped up after his touchdown, pumping the crowd up. It injected life into the building. And I get the optics aren't great, and I understand why he's embarrassed by it, but I think ultimately it did his team a service. And I know he would say otherwise, but I disagree. I think it really helped push a button that needed pushing at that point. Now, look, do you want to make that a regular occurrence? Of course not. Do I think Matt is genuine in saying that he was embarrassed by it? Yes, I do. But I was totally fine. I had no problems with it because he is frustrated. He is down 28-0, and he did try and call a timeout, and the dude just looked off like he was like watching another program. So I get why he's upset. And I get maybe because of some of the other calls that were a little ticky-tack and going against the Packers all kind of first half. He probably all built up and bubbled over, and that's fine. That's competition. That's passion. I get that. I have no issues with that at all. All right, buddy, I'm going to have to get going. I cannot thank you enough hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor and hit like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack, go.